ever found yourself fighting against circumstances you don't like? What if we told you that approach, fighting against your circumstances, might actually be holding you back, not helping you? Welcome to the Daring to Transcend podcast. Today, I'm going to talk about the power of acceptance and adaptability. These are so important for handling both life challenges and our workplace challenges because they help us, A, stay in a better state of mind, B, be more creative with coming up with solutions, and C, helping others to become more adaptable too. And after all, isn't that what we're all about as leaders, helping others through change? But we have to help ourselves first. We often get in situations that we don't like, whether it's a living situation, a work deadline, a work environment, something in our lives that we are not happy about, that we just don't like. And we start fighting against it. We start railing against it. I want to change this. I want to change it right now. I can't stand this. This is unacceptable. This is terrible. It's awful. All those things that we say about situations we don't like. It's very common. But the problem with fighting it is that fighting puts us in that fear-based survival mode. It puts us in this part of our brain back here, which is not very creative, not very expansive, and doesn't usually make very good decisions unless we're seriously in a situation that is life or death. But most of the circumstances I'm talking about right now are not life and death. And therefore, being in a fear-based mode isn't going to help us. What it's going to do is it's going to narrow our focus. We're only going to see the bad thing. We're only going to see the thing that we don't want. And we might see one or two ways out of it, but we're probably not going to see all the ways out of it that we can see. We want to talk about acceptance instead of fighting against the circumstances. Acceptance simply means what it says, accepting it for what it is. You know that old saying, it is what it is, that drives all of us crazy? Well, this is what I'm talking about. It is what it is. It's not good. It's not bad. It's not terrible. It's not fantastic. It's not any judgment-based information. It's just, it is what it is. Accepting, recognizing the situation for what it is and what it isn't. Facts. This is what it is. Not good or bad, just what it is. Let me give you an example from a client of mine of how judging our circumstances and fighting against them holds us back. So I had this client. She was very unhappy in her job. She felt that she was working really hard, that she had a lot of skills and experience, but she wasn't being recognized for them. She kept getting passed over for promotions, and she was like, what the heck? But there was a catch, because she had a financial incentive to stay with the company, a pretty big one. And all she could see was that financial incentive. So she's fighting against the fact that she's not getting the promotion, she's not getting the recognition she wants. And she's feeling that she's very stuck in this situation because she sees that financial incentive, what they call a golden handcuff to some degree, that's keeping her trapped in the situation. So the story she was telling herself was, I'm not appreciated, I'm not recognized, but I can't leave because I'm gonna lose all this money. And lose all the money is a key component here if I leave. Well, the reality is she didn't have the money to lose. It was a promise. The second thing is what was her situation relative to that promise of money? So when we step back and she just accepted her situation for what it was, not saying, I'm going to get promoted someday, or someday somebody's going to recognize me, or, this is just terrible, but I'm stuck. All the stories she was telling herself, and just saying, here's the situation. I've been in this role for X period of time. I've been passed over for promotion X number of times. Yes, there's a financial incentive to stay, but I don't realistically know if I'm ever going to get that financial incentive. And even if I did, is it worth all the other things that I'm putting up with? We went back to a factual evaluation of the situation. And that factual evaluation said, hey, this situation isn't working for her. It's not working. When she accepted that and she said, okay, here's the situation. I'm going to stop fighting against the fact they're not recognizing me. I'm going to stop projecting into the future and saying, well, someday somebody will. And I'm going to recognize that this financial incentive may not be as strong of an incentive or as real of an incentive as I thought it was in the first place. She accepted those circumstances. When she looked at it, then she said, well, wait a minute, maybe I'm not trapped here. And I do deserve to be someplace where I am accepted and where I am valued and where I'm appreciated and my skills are supported and advanced. She started looking for another job, which she found remarkably quickly. Once she accepted the situation that wasn't going to change, she widened her perspective on what was a good situation for her, and she found one. And that's how acceptance leads to adaptability, through the power of accepting it and not fighting against it and not getting focused so much on what's wrong that we don't see all the possible solutions. One of the ways that I like to give you is the metaphor of the stream and the boulder. I'm sure you've heard this before, but when a boulder is in the middle of a stream, it's blocking the stream. What does the stream do? Does the stream go up and start pounding on the boulder and say, hey, get out of my way, blah, 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 blah? Of course not. What does the stream do? It flows around the boulder. It keeps going around it and around it and around it. And it creates a new path for itself because it probably widens its bank. It does things differently. You know what else eventually happens? That boulder is worn away by the power and persistence of that stream. So here are some great questions to ask yourself, whether you're being adaptable or whether you're fighting the situation. One, what is good or bad about the circumstances? What label am I assigning to this circumstance that is a judgment? Am I seeing the situation as it is or how I want it to be? How can I make all or part of this situation work for me? Or can I at all? What really do I want to be different? And how do I need to change to be more powerful in this situation? And finally, what options do I have to change things to make either the situation more acceptable or to change the situation? If you ask yourself those questions, you open your mind, you change your attitude from one of judgment to one of curiosity and acceptance. And curiosity and acceptance are two powerful tools in the path to being adaptable. Just to recap, acceptance means accepting a situation as it is without judgment. It's not good or it's bad. It just is what it is. When you do that, you open your mind to really looking at the facts. You open your mind to what other possible solutions are there? Or is maybe the situation not as bad as I've been judging it to be? Adaptability is about making the circumstances work for you in some way, shape, or form. It does not mean accepting unacceptable situations, right? If you're in an abusive relationship or an abusive situation at work, you're certainly not going to accept that and, try to work through it. There are certain situations, which I went back to the life or death thing, where that fear-based survival mode of just fighting and or running away makes a lot of sense. But most of the time, we're not in those dire situations. We tend to make them a little bit worse than they might be. So the important thing is to accept the situation first. And that is your really crucial first step in truly being adaptable and seeing your options. So I'd like to challenge you to apply the power of acceptance to whatever challenging circumstance that you're facing right now. Whether it's a big one or a small one, it doesn't matter. In fact, it's easier to start with a small one. But what can you do to accept it for what it is? I'd love to hear how you find that this works for you. What situation are you judging as bad that maybe if you step back and just accept it, you change your whole view on the circumstance? I'm so excited to share this with you, and I'd really love for you to come back and join me again for another episode of the Daring to Transcend podcast, where I will share more tools and tips on personal and professional growth for women leaders. And don't forget to check out the other part of the podcast, which is my interviews with powerful female leaders. So until next time, stay adaptable.